Hello everybody, it's LittleSatyr, and I'm sorry again that the video is late. I've been crazy busy and crazy tired because I started taking classes again to fix up my upper secondary high school grades that I kinda messed up back when I was still in school. So I've started to try to fix that, and it's taking up a lot of my energy because there's so much homework. I wasn't prepared for this. So I kind of have to, yeah, kind of prioritize that. And then I need time in between homework, like, yeah, homework mountains to just relax a little bit. So art and talking and all of this hasn't really been something I've been able to focus on that much because I've been so tired. But here I am. Hi. Once again, trying to use bullet points. I'm going to try to make this like something I'm used to doing. And I also realized that, hey, I'm gonna have to stand in front of my class and talk to them about certain things. I'm gonna be talking about an author, so this is a very good, like, what do you call it? Very good practice to try to, like, yeah, get used to blabbering to people. So I guess this YouTube channel is actually gonna help me a little bit more than I thought it would. So, yes, ain't it great? It's great. So yeah. I don't know what the title is gonna be again, so I don't know if the title has like properly explained what I'm going to be talking about today. Quite possibly, we'll see. Uh, watch today. I actually start to pick like completely unrelated titles. Yeah. But yes, I'm gonna talk to you guys about edgy characters today because people either love them or they hate them. It's like and people have started to use the word edgy as a bit of a buzzword or something that is synonymous with this character is terrible. If someone says, oh, your character is so edgy, it usually means this character is garbage. Stop it. Oh, it's on the same level as cringy, actually. And a lot of edgy characters are also called Mary Sues, even though they very often aren't. People really need to learn how to differentiate between like an edgy character, a cringy character, and a Mary Sue. They're not all the same thing. And just because you find a character cringy, that doesn't mean it is. Just saying, rainbows doesn't equal a Mary Sue either. Just so people are aware of that. I could be making an entire video just on like Mary Sue's and stuff, but I'm not going to be doing that because I don't feel like that is my territory yet, and I don't know what to talk about there quite yet, but I might at some point. We'll see. But yes, edgy characters. You either love them or hate them. But people don't seem to realize that people on DeviantArt aren't the only people who make edgy characters. I mean, I completely agree that an edgy character isn't necessarily bad either. An edgy character can be good. There are certain examples I'm going to be giving you in a bit, but I honestly don't feel like there's anything wrong with having a character who is quote-unquote edgy. Because when it all comes down to it, if all characters were just happy-go-lucky little frickers that don't have any issues whatsoever, that would be pretty plain and boring. Because if all characters were like that, they would all be the same, you wouldn't see any variety. We actually need characters who are a bit different. I mean, if... I certainly don't want characters where all of them are super happy all the time. I have a character who could potentially be considered edgy, because, like, first off, her design. She doesn't look, like, particularly edgy or anything. She has very light colors. Her name is Aethina, but she has, like, scars all over her body, like, mainly her face. She's blind in one eye. And she rarely ever smiles. Like, she doesn't show much emotion whatsoever. But she is very protective, and once she gets close to someone, she will give her life to protect them. She's not particularly edgy, she's just very bad at showing emotion, and I guess all of the scars and stuff do show her kind of edgy. I don't know, it's... I guess it's subjective whether or not she would be considered edgy or not, but I don't feel like she is. Personally, I don't feel like she is. But, you see, it's not just us people, like people in the OC community or fan character community or whatever, who make characters that are considered edgy. Because if you all think about it, there are characters in famous media who are considered edgy, probably. There are characters who have really shitty lives. And on top of that, having a really shitty life or a bad, sad backstory is something that happens to people in real life as well. I'm not gonna get into detail, but me personally, I had a pretty shitty childhood. I grew up in a not very good environment with like bullying, abusive relationships, and what the hell not. Which has led to me having anxiety now, isn't that great? Uh, so, it is a thing that happens, and I know I'm not alone with that. There are many other people out there who have had a bad start in their life, and it does affect people. I guess the only time I can see a bit of an issue with a character having a tragic backstory and stuff is if it doesn't affect them whatsoever. Like, they're perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. There's like, oh yeah, they were abused as a child, but they're fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. They were just abused, but you know, whatever, right? That's not how it works. Abuse does leave scars, like mental scars. It does. I don't care what you say, it does. There are people who go through worse abuse than I did and probably have bigger like issues than I do. Because like I had really bad social anxiety. It's gotten a lot better lately. It really has, and it also helps that I'm finally put on medication, so it's great. There is obviously like people are gonna react differently. People are gonna have less injury or less mental scars from it than other people, while certain people don't even function anymore. It all like varies from person to person, and it also of course varies on the severity of said abuse. That is the thing. But if you have absolutely zero like side effects of it, and they have gone through the absolutely worst abuse possible, and they're finally working perfectly fine. Other than certain creepypasta characters who are like they've gone through the worst kind of abuse and they went insane and started murdering people, which can happen, I suppose, but not entirely just because of the abuse. No, there has to be something else going on with said person, and not just abuse. That abuse alone doesn't make someone a psychopath. Just so we're clear, but it can contribute. Of course, it can, most definitely. But as I was mentioning, there are characters in famous media who are going through these things, like Harry Potter, to mention just one. His parents were killed. He lives with his aunt and uncle and their son, who are treating him like garbage. He also has to fight off like dark magic and stuff because he is the main target for this the most dangerous murder in wizard history. It is like Harry Potter would be considered quite an edgy character if he was made by someone on DeviantArt. Just so you're aware. Even characters in famous media are someone's OCs. I guess you don't want to think of it like that, but it's exactly the same thing. The only thing is that they are putting them out in a way that people, like where they get more exposure. Like Stan Lee and all of his like Marvel universe. These characters are characters he made on his own. And characters with stories that he made. And people love them, and they are put out in comics, and they are put out in movies and cartoons and all of that because people love them. But in the beginning, they were all just his random characters that he created. We all start somewhere, and these people on DeviantArt who are having characters who are slightly edgy, they're just starting out. But if people in famous media can have edgy characters, I feel we can as well. If you don't believe me that there are edgy characters in media, have you guys ever played Overwatch? Because there are two perfect examples there, Reaper and Widowmaker. Reaper murders people in cold blood, and he is all out for revenge for mainly Soldier 76 or Jack Morrison, because he feel like he abandoned him and just left him to die. While Widowmaker was a normal French lady who was kidnapped by a terrorist organization. She's been brainwashed. She killed her husband in his sleep, and she's now a cold-blooded assassin who has absolutely no feelings. The reason why her skin is blue is because her heartbeat is slowed down, so she won't be able to feel emotions. And she says herself that the only time she feels alive or feels anything is when she kills people. If those characters aren't edgy, I don't know what is. But the thing is, people love these characters because they're made by Blizzard, a very big video game company who people adore. There are even characters in World of Warcraft who are the same, with Arthas for an example, who basically was driven crazy because of like power hungry and whatnot when he turned into the Lich King. and he just created his undead army that he didn't care for at all and just sent them out to do his dirty work, and then just planned on annihilating everything that humanity is. We have characters in famous media who act like these characters on DeviantArt, but yet we treat these people on DeviantArt who have certain like edgy qualities as if they are basically the cancer of the OC fandom, when I don't at all agree with that. We can't all have characters who are super happy-go-lucky. Like, that is just simply not how it works. Because imagine if no one ever created a character who could be considered edgy. And do you know how boring that would be? Because we wouldn't have any characters who are villains, and I personally feel like in a lot of media we need villains. Like, what would a superhero be without a villain to fight? A superhero who saves kittens from trees, well, I feel like that is important because I love kittens, and I feel all kittens should be safe, but you can't just build an entire story off of a superhero who simply just saves kittens and like helps old ladies walk over the street. They need a villain to fight. That is what the Marvel universe is built up on. It's built up on superheroes fighting the forces of evil. And if we don't have said evil characters who, again, are considered edgy, apparently, what are we gonna do? Like, who are they gonna fight? That is simply not... We can't have a character universe where there are no villains. We need villains. We need bad guys. We need these quote-unquote edgy characters. And just because you feel like, oh yeah, this 12-year-old on DeviantArt who is trying to be cool and has this Jeff the Killer ripoff who was slightly bullied and then murdered their entire family, that is bad. Or someone who has this My Little Pony character who has black fur and red hair and who is basically a vampire and does whatever the fuck because she hates the world. That is just a start, alright? There's a difference between having an edgy fan character, I suppose, and having an edgy OC. But in the end, I personally feel like it's fine. It shouldn't really... I said this before in a previous video, that it shouldn't really affect you either way. Whether or not it is an edgy OC or if it is an edgy fan character, it doesn't matter. If the character is well written and well rounded and somehow makes sense, it doesn't always have to be perfect either. But there are cases where people are taking characters who are perfectly fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with them technically. Like, the design is fine, the backstory makes sense, and everything is perfectly well-rounded. But no, because this character happens to be black and red, or black or some other color, and they have a bit of a tragic backstory or stuff like that, then they're considered edgy. And then they're considered bad. It doesn't matter how well written they are. No, they're terrible because they happen to be edgy. And we all know that you can't have an edgy character because that is absolutely terrible. So you gotta delete that character right away, or else people are gonna hate you for it. Or you're gonna get a bunch of very negative and very destructive reviews of the said character on YouTube, and you're gonna feel shitty about it, when in reality the character isn't actually bad. Just stop harping on people because they happen to have a preference of character. Like, I can understand if you're like, oh yeah, this person only makes like edgy murderous characters, or like all of their characters are psychopaths, and I can't roll with that. Like, I don't like that. Okay, fine, but does these characters actually hurt you though? Were you planning on involving these characters in something? Were you planning on role-playing with this person? Were you planning on trying to do anything where these characters actually affect you in any way, shape, or form? Or did you just stumble over them on DeviantArt and you thought they were shitty and you felt the need to yell at them for it? Because I'm pretty sure it was the later. And I know I said this in my previous video as well, it shouldn't matter. If someone has a character you don't like, leave it be. Like, it shouldn't really... it shouldn't devalue the person who made them just because they happen to make a character you don't like. Stop trying to attack people, because in the end, when you are attacking them for said characters, you're not giving them criticism, you're attacking the person who made the character. They're the one who's gonna take offense to it, because in the end, the character isn't real, but the creator is. And I personally feel that we need to stop being so like judgmental against edgy characters, because in the end there's nothing wrong with them. They are in they are in famous media. We need characters like that. Not all characters can be happy-go-lucky, because if we only have happy characters who never do anything bad or has never had anything bad happen to them, we're looking back at Playhouse Disney, where the characters are all happy and they're trying to make the little kids who are watching it sing along and point where certain things are hiding, when obviously we already know that it's there and everything is pre-recorded. But it's supposed to be like educational. Is that is that seriously what we want every OC story to be like? I don't think so. I have a very hard time believing that. But I think that was all I had to say, and hopefully you guys actually understood, because I felt like I was talking very fast in this video. I just had a lot of focus here. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I think that was all I had to say, and I hope you guys I hope you found this entertaining or informational or whatever. Informative is the word. Sorry, again, English isn't my first language. I apologize. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I try to be a little bit more consistent. I know I keep saying that, but I'll really try. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. See you later, and take care. I love all of you. Goodbye.